was just like talking to myself for a few minutes. I'll be on in 2 seconds. Be right there. Hi. Oh, hang on. Let me lower the audio here. Hi, everybody. I figured I might as well just like get going. Oh, that's too low. There, how's that? Can you hear me okay? How's my audio sounding if you are hanging out right now? Does my microphone sound good? And does the background sound okay? Is it too music not disturbing? Audio's good? Good. Hello. It's been a long time, hasn't it? I haven't streamed since I had a baby, which has been, I'm pretty sure. So that's like 6 months, which is that's a long time. Here, I can do something a little more interesting. Here. I got some D&D in the background. Yes, today, so Clem, yeah. The title is accurate. We're gonna be today working on coming up with a therapeutic D&D world. And there's a reason for that. I'll talk about it in a little bit. But yeah, just to kind of catch up. I mean, it's been ages. So good to see so many of you in the chat. And I'm glad that all you are doing so good. Thanks, Clem. I appreciate that. Good to see you, Thadalicious, Olivier, Carolina, Parth, L. Hansen. You're all good folks. I stream, Clem. I stream here on YouTube and on Twitch. So I'm sort of co-streaming. Whoa, did you see all those just come through? That was wild. So anyway, you can catch me on either side. Twitch is where I'll sometimes stream some stuff that is not channel related, so like just playing video games and stuff like that. Memi? All right, Memi's great. You have your master's in art therapy and you're a lifelong gamer. Hey, that's awesome. Art therapy is one of those cool areas that I've always wanted to learn more about and get some training in so that I can incorporate it more into like sessions. But where's the time, right? One of these days I'll do that. Hey, I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. Avi. Kind of want to look up for D&D bots that would play against each other and see who wins. Well, D&D isn't like competitive, you know. I guess you could make it competitive, right? You can make whatever you want. But you've never seen him come up in the chat section? Well, now you're live. And thanks, Jeffrey. I appreciate the congratulations. It's been a trip, I'll tell you that. You know, the last 6 months, having a baby, it just changes everything. I know people say that, right? It's like a kind of a cliche thing to say, is like, oh, you have a baby and your life changes. And when I heard that, like I accepted it as true, but I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But it really is kind of a whole different. So anyway, you're not a D&D guy, never played, so you don't actually know what's up. Well, maybe today can be your introduction. If people are not familiar with D&D, we can learn all about it. Blah, blah, blah. Always interested in what other creators are doing. Yeah, thanks. Psychology student, I really like all the videos you've made with Allie too. Thanks, Olivier, I appreciate that. And I do have pets, sorry, not Clem, Memi. Memi, I do have pets. Some of our most popular videos on our channel are videos where I'm working with the cats. So you can always check that out. I have 2 cats. And I have fish too, actually. I don't really talk about the fish much because they're outside. They're just like in a pond. So interested in this. I had thoughts about the concept after watching some Healthy Gamer. Have you ever interacted with Dr. K? Your 2 channels are... You know, I've heard Dr. K come up a few times and I'm not familiar with Dr. K at all. Nor Healthy Gamer. Is that the same person? I'm like out of the loop with regards to that. But I mean, it's great to see people talking about this stuff. I feel like D&D in general has had something of a resurgence, you know, in the past 5 years, I suppose. And I think big part of that is because of Stranger Things, and I think just generally like nerd culture keeps shifting, right? When, you know, back in 2011, that's when I was like really into comic books and was collecting those and made videos about that stuff and all that, and that was like really a big part of it. And then Marvel movies, and not that any of these things were like niche, super niche, but you know, it's interesting to see how like subcultures blow up and become mainstream and then die out and stuff like that. One that I'm waiting, some subcultures that I'm waiting to see come back are train enthusiasts, right? People who do model trains, and baseball cards, just cards in general. They had their heyday in the 90s, and then they had a huge crash, and a lot of them are worth practically nothing just because it was a bubble. You know, they produced so many cards and then they lost all their value. So anyway, what you're saying about babies is exactly how I felt when I had my first puppy. So much harder than you expect. Doesn't matter how much they tell you. It's true. Remember the cat training video? Yeah. You can always, you know, it's always good to touch grass, but you know, I don't blame you. I've heard of narrative therapy with D&D from another YouTuber, but it didn't go into too much detail. I've never played, but interested for my stepkid who does. Oh, that's great. Yeah, so narrative therapy, I kind of be curious about how those intersect. So narrative therapy, from my understanding, is based on like this, essentially the story that you tell about your life has an impact on the way that you perceive yourself and the circumstances that have happened to you. And so if you can change the narrative, right? If you can change the story that you tell yourself, then that could lead to improved mental health, right? So it often focuses on like what your values are, and it's very strengths based. So I suppose you could build D&D into that, right? But I think D&D has a better place where it fits in. We're going to talk about that. Let's see. Let's make sure I'm not ignoring people. Critical Role really brought it in. Yeah, I know. Critical Role, Adventure Zone. Of course, there's been a ton of new like D&D podcasts that have popped up. Dungeons and Daddies. For me, the podcast actually that I started listening to first, that was Real Play D&D, was why am I forgetting the name of it? Oh shoot, hang on, let me look this up. Nerd Poker. That's what I was thinking of. You guys ever listen to Nerd Poker? It was big back in the day, really kind of a fun podcast when it started out. I kind of fell off of it because after a little bit it wasn't as interesting. Yeah, Dungeons and Daddies is a good title. I play a lot of other board games. I love board games in general. I currently don't have a weekly D&D game, it's probably the first time that I haven't had a weekly game going in like, let's think about this, 7 years, something like that. So when I was living in San Diego, I had a group of friends where we would meet every week and play every week. And that went for like 5 years. And then I played with a different group of friends in San Diego for about a year or two. Yeah, I think a year. And then I started playing with my brothers and sisters-in-law, and as well, and that was a really good time. But then when we had our baby, we decided to take a pause, and we just haven't picked back up. And that actually hasn't been our fault. I'll just put that out there. There's been scheduling conflicts, which is like, that's the bane of all D&D games, right? Is just scheduling issues. I know, Jeffrey, weekly. We were really consistent. And people were really good about showing up. It was priority for people. It was the dream, and it was pretty great. So, all right. Well, let's get into what we're doing today. Let me change our view a little bit. Okay, so here's what's happening. In February, coming up on the channel, I'm gonna be doing a video that is about this topic specifically. So it's, oh, thank you, Dark Knight, for subscribing. I don't know why it's doubling the audio though. It's a little annoying. How can I turn that off? 1 second. I'm not gonna worry about it. You guys might hear some doubled audio when alerts go off. Sorry. Why don't you have a wee? My brother is in the chat right now. 123 Gamer Man. Hey, I'm just calling you out, man. We're ready. We're ready whenever. No, I'm just kidding. It's been a busy time, and especially with the holidays. But maybe in the new year, bro, we should pick back up and start our game up again. So here's the deal. February, we're gonna have a video coming out specifically about using D&D for therapy. And where this idea came from was I actually did this. So when I was, when we were, pre-pandemic, actually it was right before the pandemic started, like over winter time, I think. When I was in San Diego, I started a Dungeons and Dragons group that was therapeutic. So I called it Dungeons and Dragons and Feelings. And the goal of the group was to find folks who who were interested in RPGs, but also who their primary concern was with stuff like social anxiety, self-esteem, connecting with other people, that sort of thing. And the game would become essentially the way of strengthening these areas. So part of the reason why I'm doing this video in February is because we had a sponsor reach out to us who wanted to sponsor us, but they're not like maybe what you'd think of as the most solid fit, except of course with this topic. So the sponsor is let's see if I can, World Anvil. So they're going to be sponsoring that February video. I've never actually used World Anvil before, and so I wanted to actually get access to it, try it out, all that stuff, and I needed an excuse to do that. And so part of my thought was, well, what if maybe I start up a game like a one-shot or something like that I could do live on stream that then I could use for the video, and then potentially some of you out there are interested in being involved, we could make that work. I need to figure out exactly if that would work. I don't know if World Anvil, like they have maps, they have like wiki abilities, and like all this stuff for running the campaign. The part that I'm unclear about, and I think the answer is no, because I don't think that they have webcam like access. It's not built in. So that's the part that I have to figure out, is like how to make this work fluidly. Maybe we just do it through Discord or something like that, to be able to play a one shot using this website, and also show off like how a therapy session would look like. Of course, it wouldn't be. I couldn't actually do therapy for people, right? Just ethically and legally speaking, but it would be sort of a mock session. If that makes sense. So, thoughts? What do you guys think about that? Okay, I'm catching up. Don't feel like it. Yeah, you got a lot to catch up on, it seems to me. How's it going? Good people joining. World Anvil is great. Ghost. Okay, so Ghost, you have some experience with World Anvil. Can you give me, if you don't mind, typing a little bit? Can you give me a little bit of information about them? They seem really cool. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about the service, and I'm going to get access to it shortly. But it's something that's still kind of unfamiliar to me. I've used other ones. You want me to raise audio? How's that? Is that better? I've used other services. So I've used Roll20 before, and that works okay. I think Roll20 can be nice for building maps. I like that it has the built-in video audio functionality so that you don't need to leave the app or the website. The problem that I find is that the audio video functionality tends to be pretty buggy, and so you'll start playing a game and then suddenly, like, for whatever reason, a person's audio stops working or their video stops working, or they get delayed, and this doesn't happen in other like video applications. So it's not like an internet problem. So blah, 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 blah. World Anvil is awesome for keeping world building consistent and for making large maps. Oh, that's good to know. What I know, it was made by a couple for world builders, so you can have 2 free worlds where you can add information in separate folders, things like characters, locations, maps, etc. Huh. That's cool. That's really cool. So okay, so I didn't realize that this was built by a couple. But that's awesome. Add information in separate folders, things like characters, locations, map, but you can change the world settings. D&D 5e. That's nice. Yeah, it seems like they try to be as versatile as possible so that they can work with a lot of different systems. But 5e is what I play. I did play Pathfinder for a really long time. Hey, yeah, Jeffrey. So you're interested in that? The name reminds me of RPG named Lasers and Feelings. Oh, I think I've seen people play Lasers and Feelings before. Huh. Interesting. Okay, we've got some spam in the comments. Please ignore that. We're gonna... How do I do something here real quick? Some people gotta ruin everything, am I right? Oops. Okay, cool. Great. Sorry about that, guys. Want to make sure. All right, I think that's good. All right, cool. So you think that's cool? Thanks, Thad. Are you planning on having guests from the Discord community hop on for a one shot, or do you already have creators that will be joining you for the session? You know, I didn't have a firm plan, I guess. I was thinking it could be both, right? It could be creators, it could be people who are part of the Discord, or just, you know, subscribers. They would have to be on the Discord in order to participate. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking it would be nice. Hey, thanks for the subscription, Daniel. It'd be nice to like include people in the gameplay and just have a good time. So I think I would take whoever I could get, because that's the hard part. All right, good to know. You volunteer yourself as tribute. Excellent. Yeah, so if people are interested in playing, I mean, like the business side of me says it would be great to get other creators on board, because then you have like, oh, there's a whatever, a collaboration, and then their audience sees it potentially and blah blah blah. But I don't care either way. My goal is to just have it be fun. You want the Discord link? Sure. Our Discord, I'm going to tell you right now, our Discord is dead, okay? It's not really an active place. Oh no. Hang on. Let's do that for a second. I need to get it more active. I just, if I'm being honest, it's just been so busy lately that I'm not the best at being consistent with like social media. So that's part of why it's a little bit dead. It's my fault. Eventually we'll get to the point where we can, you know, oh, let's edit that invite. Generate, copy. All right, I'm gonna put this in the chat. I'll put it in both chats in case people on in case people on Twitch and YouTube both want to join. If you want to help me make it more active, honestly, I'd be open to if one of you is interested in like being a moderator or something like that. That would be amazing. So, and if you do more work than I do, then that is well worth it to me. So if you're interested, let me know. You can DM me or something. What else? What else? Babies make consistency difficult. Yeah, that's true. I know. It feels like all my time has been taken up. Honestly, I've got big life plans in the future that I'll be sharing hopefully soon that might free up my time for things. We'll see. Hello! Hey, Farhan. Farhan, am I pronouncing that right? I am multi-streaming right now. As much as we hate the unholy overlord, you should look on science Twitter. It's a great community. I agree. Science Twitter is great. I mean, I have a lot of creator friends, you know, people who play D&D and who would, I'm sure, love to participate. So that would be not too difficult of a pool to pull from, I don't think. And Allie is far more active on science Twitter than I am. So that could be a place that we pull from as well. I like science Twitter. It's a fun place to hang out. But yeah, so anyway, so let's talk about D&D. I want to kind of brainstorm a little bit. What is up, my fellow gamers? And your username is What's Therapy? This is like made for you, my dude. Yeah, it is slightly animated. This guy's smiling. So here's kind of the concept. D&D as a game was not developed for therapy, right? It was developed as a way to engage in role play and in storytelling, all of that stuff. But through playing it myself, and I didn't invent this, right? I didn't come up with this, but through people playing D&D and particularly people who were identified as kind of outsiders at the beginning, right? Kind of geeks or freaks or nerds or whatever you want to call them. There was within that community through D&D, you built community, you built like a cohesive unit. And so clearly there are a lot of benefits to D&D that you can see. So from a therapeutic perspective, what I see is where D&D can be really helpful is in improving social skills, right? In terms of how you interact with other people that you're playing with. It can really help with self-esteem or self-confidence, because you're often making decisions, you're put into these situations where you are the one making choices. It can give space to express yourself and be more assertive. So you can like speak up in those moments. And there are a lot of opportunities for that are contrived and derived, but still real, right? You're not playing with a computer. You're playing with other people. And I think it's also just a nice creative outlet. And so it's really great for like engaging your problem solving. So I think that's why it works so well in therapy, is because it is collaborative. You're not really competing against other people. And so you need to find a way to get along with one another, to work together, that kind of thing. And I think that that element alone can be really beneficial in a therapeutic context, because there are certain issues, certain mental health issues, where that's really needed. And so it's almost like a form of exposure therapy, right? Where you're putting someone into a feared situation, or a situation that like directly deals with the issue that they're working through, and provides opportunities in a safe and supportive environment to like experiment a little bit. That's like saying, what's the meaning of life? I found sometimes it's hard not to be parasocial as your character, if that makes sense. Are you saying that you tend to play characters that are like you? Or are you saying that, I guess, what do you mean? If you can give a little bit more explanation about the parasocial, because when I think of parasocial, there, I tend to think of parasocial relationships where you have a connection with someone who you don't actually know, but you feel like, because it's kind of a one-sided thing, like feel closer than you actually are. I want to make a video about that too, actually, about parasocial relationships. Are people out there not adding their own issues on their characters? Yeah, that's the other part, right? Is you have to create a character, right, in order to play. And I think how you design your character can say so much, because some people will make their character to reflect themselves, right? They will essentially play themselves in a D&D environment. And other people will create a character that's completely different. And that's interesting too, because to a certain degree that can show what their needs or desires or fantasies are that they're trying to play out, or what they see as strong or interesting, or whatever it might be. So I think that that's just so interesting. D&D might have saved my life, no joke. Had a character that had a coming out moment that was very cathartic and allowed me to be okay with relationships with people who won't accept my identity. That's awesome, Thatalicious. Your name always makes me chuckle a little bit. But yeah, right. You can have real moments even through gameplay. But that's so awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. Let's see. Okay, we're getting an explanation here. For example, you flirt with another player through your characters, but saying it doesn't count in real life or something. I see. So I see. So you're saying it's a way of living your life without consequence, potentially, right? But differently than how you would act in your own life. I don't know if I'm phrasing that correctly, but I've heard D&D described as having a similar effect as therapy, but also your DM is not your therapist. Right. But what if your DM was your therapist? What would happen? So, okay, so what issues would D&D reasonably be good for, right? Because it's not going to be an ideal setting for just any issue that you're going through. I think when I was doing my sessions, we were targeting people with social anxiety, or who felt disconnected, right? People who felt like they didn't have a close group. And that ended up being a really fun group to do. It was a small group, only 3 other people. And we were trying to do a brief, short campaign. And this is always the issue with D&D. It was a closed group, which means that we weren't accepting new participants over time. It was like you start off with a set number of people, and that's all the people that are going to be in the group. But with a closed group, you typically need a duration. And so since I work with college students primarily, um, uh, we set it to last as long as the quarter. And the quarter is 10 weeks or 11 weeks, but the group doesn't start right at the beginning. And so we only had 8 sessions. And I'll tell you, it's so hard to fit an entire campaign into 8 sessions. And that was even trying to do like a short thing. So I think one shots for something like that are ideal. Or, if you don't have, if you have a really committed group where there's not going to be turnover, there's consistency, people are really on board, or maybe if you make it an open group where new people can join, but you limit the number. So if somebody drops off, you can add a new player. That could work, and you could do longer, campaigns. I think that would be really interesting. So anyway, I was focused mostly on social anxiety and like social connectedness, but and I think that that's a really effective place for D&D. But it can also be really useful for kind of like what I was talking about before. If a person is struggling with low self-esteem or low self-confidence, that can be a really great place for D&D to be used. Or if people are struggling with communication issues, right? If they're too passive and they're like people pleasers, or if they're too aggressive and get defensive really easily, right? Communication is so important in D&D, and that I think oftentimes in D&D gameplay or RPGs, the DMs struggle with that, right? By DMs, I'm talking about dungeon masters, the person who's operating the game. They struggle to facilitate player conflict, and it comes up a lot, right? If you have a player who does something that screws over the rest of the group, they might be pissed off, and the DM might just kind of, sit back and be like, well, whatever, right? I'm just playing the game, and we'll see how things unfold. And that can be helpful. But I think also, if you bring it into a therapy setting, then, for example, me as the therapist, I could say, so-and-so, you seem upset by what's just happened. Do you want to share what you're thinking? Or, hey, person who made this decision, tell me about your thought process, and how do you feel about the fact that this is going to negatively impact the other people that you're playing with, that kind of thing, right? We're not trying to play, I guess that is a restriction with doing D&D in this way, right? Is you're not trying to play D&D necessarily in the way that some people like to play, which is to be a kind of like antisocial jerk, or the person who's trying to manipulate every system. There are people who really love that, and I have fun with that too. If I can find a rule or some loophole where I can do something really fun, and I think that's okay as long as it's not something that drags down the rest of the group and really makes it a negative experience. Anyway, I got off track somehow. So people who have problems with communication, I think it'd be good for people who have a hard time with depression, who in particular are lacking that social or creative outlet, because depression often leads to this their circle gets smaller, right? They tend to go inwards and isolate. Not always, but oftentimes. So it could be helpful for that. I think it could be helpful for people who are neurodivergent, right? People who are on the autism spectrum, or people who have impulse control issues, like people with ADHD and stuff like that. I think that could be helpful for things like building social awareness or empathy or social skills, stuff like that, if that's what the person wants. But but also just like, I don't know, if you're the kind of person who struggles with making decisions, or if you're like doubting yourself all the time, or you're worried about making mistakes, I guess that kind of goes along with confidence issues. But D&D is just a series of doing that over and over again. So, and then it's interesting when I look up information about D&D being used in therapy, I most often see it being used with kids, which I think is valuable. And I think that can be really helpful because kids don't necessarily always have the vocabulary or insight that an adult might have. And so like talk therapy might not be as conducive. So games are a nice way of breaking that down and being able to point things out as they happen. But that's not my area of expertise. So anyway, lots of areas I think where it could be super helpful. Okay, I'm gonna catch up on chat a little bit, because a one shot definitely can stretch into an 8 shot. That's for sure. I think that is the hardest part, and something that when I was DMing for this therapy session, it was my first time DMing, and like I had plenty of experience. I didn't feel nervous about doing that or anything like that. I had lots of experience playing and had prepared and all that stuff. It was going to be a short thing, but that's the hardest part, I think, is if you're on a timeline, reining people in and keeping things on track. It's super difficult. So for the purpose of this therapy-oriented D&D, how would you direct character creation? I don't know. Yeah, really good question. I don't know. I think that you could go about it in different ways, right? If you wanted to, you could set up D&D therapy with a certain goal in mind. So if, I don't know, I guess an example, if you are dealing with people who exclusively are struggling with social anxiety, then maybe you would direct people to like the participants to create a gregarious character, right? Someone who's very social and extroverted and that kind of thing, and just sort of see what that does for them. I don't know if I would want to do that. I don't know if I'd want to restrict character creation, because I think that when you are given there's nothing better than having that freedom to create your own character, and then you have full ownership over it. So, yeah. Okay. My first time playing a tabletop game with people, I had a panic attack and had to leave the table, and they were mad at me for it. Yeah, I mean, I can see that happening. It's like, it can be a scary situation because you're thrown into this social environment. If you're not familiar with it, like it was your first time playing, there's a lot of fear perhaps associated with it, not knowing what you're doing, and some people don't understand what people are going through. But I wouldn't feel bad about it. It sucks that people didn't understand. But hopefully you feel a little bit more comfortable these days. Just catching up here. Isn't DM as therapist potentially conflict of interest? Yeah, it would be a conflict of interest if you had a D&D game and you also had therapy outside of that, with your, with that same person. But if they're combined, there shouldn't be a conflict of interest. So what you're talking about is what we call a dual relationship, right? Where this person is playing two different roles. But if it's only one role and it's as a therapist in this game setting, it's all kosher. I don't think so. If that's the plan for the beginning, like going through a mini role play during your session. Oh, you're talking about having a conversation. They're using their character as an excuse to veil their true feelings and play out the fantasy, regardless of whether they know it or not. Yeah, so that would be interesting, right? To explore that and be like, okay, what's going on here? Why are you? What is it about this fantasy that really appeals? Now we can explore that side of things. You know, if someone sees themselves as kind of a weak individual, but then they play a barbarian who is like super powerful and strong, that's relevant and interesting. And it's sort of like, okay, you know, what does playing this character do for you? Oh, you just brought up a barbarian, Ghost. Playing a barbarian to practice feeling anger in safe environments where it's not real. Yeah, right. If you feel uncomfortable expressing anger, it can be a nice way to practice in a safe place, in a low stakes place. You know, having those emotions and seeing how people react to it, for sure. Just see here real quick. All right, we're doing good. Blah, 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 blah. I'm married now, but I was thinking in retrospect of my college days, definitely wasn't planned. Micah the Munchkin confirmed. I admit playing with murder hobos makes me have to fight against pathologizing the murder hobo player in real life. I know, right? When people, I mean, okay, yes, when I play, I can be a bit of a murder hobo. All right. Past characters, I've played as a bard, as a halfling bard. That was probably one of my most enjoyable characters. I loved playing that character. And he wasn't so much a murder hobo just because he wasn't very strong. He was kind of the type that would buff everyone else. But socially was a lot of fun to play, right? When you got into those interactions with NPCs, that was my favorite part. And then I played a barbarian after that, and I didn't have as much fun with it. I mean, it was still a lot of fun. That was the longest campaign that I've ever played with that character. And it was fun when you were in battle, right? To just destroy things. But then when you're outside of combat, all you could do is be kind of the comic relief for not being very smart. So that was tough. You know, it's like you're trying to solve some riddle or something like that. And it's like, well, maybe I, as myself, might know something or think a certain way, but my character doesn't. So anyway, it's always interesting to do that metacognitive work, you know, thinking about thinking and putting yourself into the shoes of another character. Actually, that's another benefit of D&D, right? That can be used in therapy, is like, it can be a way of building empathy or understanding for other perspectives. You're literally having to imagine yourself as another character or person, unless of course you create your character to exactly sort of mimic you in real life. But I don't know, to each their own. But yes, I was essentially a munchkin. And then in my most recent game, oh gosh, what am I playing as? I'm playing as a gnome. What's his class again? Why am I blanking? Well, not important. Essentially, he's a leprechaun, and you know, also kind of a socialite. Just because I wanted to kind of get back to that original character because I had so much fun with it. Marisha Ray from Critical Role in an interview said she learned from a character completely opposite to her identity, Beauregard. She said that campaign 2 gave her the therapy she didn't know she needed. There you go. Yeah, I mean, Critical Role is one one of the, if not the biggest, like D&D podcasts out there, and YouTube channel too. I have not watched or listened to it at all. I really need to. Allie is like totally caught up and everything, so, and loves it. I mean, so many people love it. It's I hear such good things. How do you navigate DMing in session? I could see it in a group setting, but how might it work individually, unless that wasn't your intent? Well, you would only do this in a group setting. So I get what you're saying. So there's individual therapy and there's group therapy. And sorry, I'm just really thirsty. And I needed to drink from my overly large water bottle. So there's individual therapy and there's group therapy. If you were doing a DM, if you're DMing a group session, you probably, like, individually it would be just totally different, right? You would not be playing a game in an individual session. I like to do group with people that I don't see in individual session. Kind of like what we were talking about before, where there's dual relationships. If one of the members in my group is someone that I see individually, and then everybody else are people that I don't see in individual therapy, it's kind of a, I don't know, it's a strange dynamic, because now you have a lot of information about one person, but not as much about the other members. So I like to have a clean slate and to sort of come in with an equal understanding of everybody who's participating. But that's just me. More picking your brain than asking for a breakdown. I DM a campaign with only one player. I really love it, and it is now my preferred way to play. Whoa. You can explore the PC in so much detail. I can see how it's a great format for therapy. That's wild, Ghost. Wow. I've never done that. I could see that being a lot of fun from both people's perspective, because it's kind of like playing a video game. So you as the DM are like, just you're making up the world as you go, and the other person gets free reign to be the main character. Yeah, that's interesting. I have never played where there's only one PC. And I don't know if it appeals to me that much. I think I'd rather play a video game, because I find most enjoyment, I think, from the social aspect of D&D, personally. And I mean, I guess you have the DM there, so it's like another person, but I think it's like a group activity in my mind. It was hard for me to not turn on cheats. Oh, right. And play therapy, yeah. Play therapy is great. I really want to incorporate that more. So for the purpose of this therapy-oriented... Oh, no. What is that, and how does it relate to what you're talking about with play therapy? So play therapy is kind of what it sounds like, using play to facilitate the therapeutic relationship and processing and all that stuff. I don't think it's different. I mean, play therapy is a big umbrella that involves a lot of different activities, and so I think you could classify D&D under play therapy. Playing characters that are different from oneself is super cool for empathizing with people. Gnomes and halflings are so awesome to play. I agree. They're sneaky. They're small. They're dexterous. I like it. All right. So you might be wondering, what does a D&D therapy session look like? What would that actually entail? So I gave a little bit of detail about this as I was talking, but Well, let's back up, because there's somebody early on who was like, "What's D&D?" So we'll start there. If you're unfamiliar with Dungeons and Dragons or role-playing games generally, Dungeons and Dragons is a game where you create a character and and come up with all of their characteristics and their stats, right? Certain numbers that represent things. And then you use that character to interact with a world that's being created by the dungeon master in order to accomplish whatever story or goal is set up. And there are other player characters who are playing with you, other real life people who are playing with you, typically, unless you're playing just one-on-one. And you all play together, and so it's like live storytelling almost. And so there are a lot of different role-playing games. D&D is probably the most popular, but there and that involves sort of most often high fantasy stories. So it's a game where you have orcs and gnomes and elves and humans and halflings and all that stuff. Sort of think Lord of the Rings, essentially. And then you have different classes of people. So you have wizards and sorcerers and rogues and fighters and barbarians and all these things. So you can mash those together in various combinations, and then depending on the character that you come up with, that will change what you can do or how you might interact with the world that you're in. So that's the bare bones of it. You're essentially you're creating your own Lord of the Rings. Now, not all games are high fantasy. They can take place in any particular setting that you might want. You could do a Star Trek RPG, or you could do a Pokemon RPG, or you could make something up completely new. You could do an RPG where it takes place in an office building, and you're just like a bunch of normal people. The sky's the limit. And I think that's the nice part about stuff like D&D is sort of the endless creativity. But if you're sticking to sort of the classics, then it would be kind of a high fantasy setting. A D&D therapy session, like I was saying, would probably be a small group. You'd want about 3 to 4 players, plus the DM or therapist. So 4 to 5 people in total. The sessions that I've done in the past have been an hour long, but I think that's actually, that's pretty short, right, for a session, for a play session. The problem, so I would love to do longer sessions, right? I think a 2-hour session would be ideal, right? If you could do a few 2-hour sessions, because then you have enough time to really like get into it and feel more immersed. The problem with that, though, is that our insurance companies won't pay for anything over an hour long. So if you're doing insurance, right, if people are paying through insurance, then there's sort of a loss of income to the therapist if they're going over that hour, which is too bad. It kind of sucks to have that limitation. And this is true for like individual therapy too. It'd be nice to have longer sessions, but therapy ends up dictating so much of how that happens. But in any case, so it'd be an hour-long session. The beginning of the session would start off with like a check-in, right? People go around and sort of warm up and talk about stuff outside of the game, how they're doing or details that might be relevant to the group. And then after that, then you would dive in, right? You would get into the play. And it would be more or less a normal D&D game, because the game itself brings up those therapeutic topics. But during gameplay, it's the therapist's job, the DM's job, to then like point out things, right? So they might pause, whatever's happening in play, and use that time to temporarily like point out something that's relevant, or to ask the player to like process what's happening, that kind of thing. You don't want to do that too much, because then it like feels like you start and then stop. But for moments where it feels like it could be impactful, you would do that. And then you would end with just a wrap up, right? Where you would discuss what happened in the game, try to connect that to whatever the goals are of therapy, or to the participants' lives, right? So if you didn't want to stop play, you could always do it in the wrap up, right? And sort of say like, oh, hey, so-and-so, I really noticed that you were speaking up more than you have in the past, and I really want to commend you on that, something like that, right? Whatever the goals are for that person. And that would be it. And then you would do that on a weekly basis. I think for it to be effective, you would want it to be pretty consistent, which is also one of the hardest parts about D&D, right? People joke about it, but like, it's hard to get people together on a weekly basis. If people are paying for it, usually, even if it's insurance and it covers everything, usually people are more consistent with that, which is nice. But if you have a small group, right, 3 to 4 people, if you're missing one person, that can really throw off the dynamic. So if someone isn't there, it could even be counterproductive to some of the things that you're trying to do with therapy, because you're trying to build a tight-knit, supportive group. So if somebody doesn't show up, then it's like, okay, they're not really committed, and they're not, to a certain degree, this is like an irrational thought, but something that could come up, especially with social anxiety. Somebody could think like, oh, like they don't care about me, if they're not here, or maybe I said something that made them not show up, blah, 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 right? So you want to have that consistency to build that supportive group. All right. The big thing with session times is the pre-session, where everyone is saying hi and catching up, and then post-session where you want to talk about what happened in session. Yeah, for sure. So like 20 minutes pre-session, 20 minutes post-session, which leaves 20 minutes for the actual session. No. 5 minutes pre-session. You wanna really run through that at the beginning. What I would do when I was running my game, we go around and I would start off by saying, okay, let's talk about roses and thorns, right? So what's one rose, one thorn from your week? And by that, we're talking about one good thing, one bad thing, or one thing that really went well, one thing that was difficult. And then people would, say their piece. All right, thank you, everybody. Let's dive in. And you'd start play. And then the post session also doesn't have to be incredibly long. I'd say 10 minutes, maybe. So hopefully you're left with 45 minutes of actual play. It's still not very much, which is why I think I was having a hard time even with this short campaign that I had constructed. But that's the idea, at least, is to try to, I guess you could shorten the end if you're doing more of that during play. But I find, at least my preference was to not interrupt as much during play so we could get through more, and then have dedicated time at the end to just kind of post-process. But good pointing that out, Jeffrey. I appreciate that. Sims is one that is not uncommon for play therapy. The concept is fascinating to me. It's so funny that you bring up Sims. I was just talking with my friend this morning about Sims and how it's like his favorite game and he listens to the soundtrack all the time. That's so weird. I've never played Sims. Or rather I should say I have played it for a very short amount of time, and it was Sims 4. I haven't played any of the originals. I played SimCity, all the like other simulation games. Sim Tower. I loved Sim Tower back in the day. That was a great game. Or Sim Ant. What else is there? Wasn't there a roller coaster one, or am I just thinking of Roller Coaster Tycoon? I think it's just Roller Coaster Tycoon. But yeah, love me some sim related games. I wouldn't feel like I could get anything done in an hour. I know, that's what I'm saying. An hour is so short. Payment is such a barrier to entry for therapy in general, let alone play therapy. Totally. The interesting thing is I had a really easy time drumming up interest in D&D being used for therapy. At my current work, we often have a lot of difficulty finding people who want to participate in groups. And I think that that's mostly because, college students are busy and, it's, especially over the past couple of years, it's been like doing groups online is not ideal. But when I opened up my group for a D&D group, I got a lot of interest, which was awesome. So I think that that's an advantage, is like you might have people who participate who normally wouldn't. Let's see here. Hearing you use therapist speak feels like coming home. That's fair. It's mostly female audience. I know. Yeah, most therapists are, it is a female dominated field. Because I think helping professions generally tend to have more women in it. And I think that that's an unfortunate thing. I think that just generally among like American society, there's sort of this impression that like touchy-feely stuff belongs to women, and men need to do something that's more like, I don't know, concrete. I don't know. Love SimCity. When we got to play in the school, it was amazing. I know, yeah, in school. All the Sims games had nothing to do with people. Oh, you're saying I played all the Sims games that had nothing to do with people. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, nothing to do. Well, I mean, when you're playing, I guess it was Roller Coaster Tycoon. When you're playing Roller Coaster Tycoon, then you had to worry about people. Or you could trap people, right? You could put them into an infinite loop. But you meant The Sims, not therapy. Oh, gotcha. All right. So anyway, this is the idea. I guess let me throw up a poll. I apologize to my Twitch viewers right now because Twitch has this asinine rule where unless you're an affiliate, you can't post polls. But if you're an affiliate, then you're like, it's against their terms of service to multi-stream. So it's kind of like, well, I have to, when I'm choosing between one or the other, I'm gonna choose to multi-stream because, hey, YouTube, I got people there, right? You're all here. But maybe you can answer with a 1 or 2. Oh, look at that. So I'll put the poll in the YouTube chat, and then on Twitch, let's say, what's the question that I'm asking? All right, well, let's start off. If I were to run a campaign, a one-shot, a therapy one-shot, would you want would you rather see subscribers or other creators? So 1 will be subscribers and 2 will be other creators. All right, I just posted that poll. So you can vote now. I'm just kind of curious because that will, to a certain degree, whittle down where I direct my energy about who I should be approaching. And I have access to a lot of creators, so that wouldn't be too difficult. And then I guess I could also crowdsource creators if there are particular people who you would like to see. Now, there will be limitations to that because I don't know everybody. Both? Oh, I didn't add a both option. All right, 3 in the chat if you want both. Like if you want a combination. First one should definitely be creators. Does it really have to be exclusively one or the other? The only reason that I am dividing it up is because I'm dividing it up because it will make my life easier to go one way or the other. Let's just put it that way. If I have to do both, then I have to approach creators individually and also create some like system to vet and nail down subscribers. And so doing both of those is going to, like, individually, that will be enough work. You don't see the poll? It should be at the top of the chat. Just click on it. If you're on Twitch, 1 is subs, 2 is other creators. What you'd rather see. Or you can just type it. We don't need to make this complicated. I would like to see people who are enthusiastic about the project with a lean towards other creatives. Okay, that's fair. Put out a feeler for creators to respond first. If you get enough responses, then you're done. If not, then do subscribers. That could be a viable option for sure. Genuinely, a mix would be fun, but starting with creators would garner more attention probably, which is good. Also true. Yeah. Fair point. Heyo! Highlight. Highlight. You ever play Highlight? I don't think I've ever seen a game of Highlight. Just try whatever's fun. That's what D&D is about. And with therapy, it's such an awesome, powerful idea that I honestly would want to see it happen in any way. It'd be totally awesome. Man. Thanks, Thad. Appreciate that. I think it would be a lot of fun. I think it would be tons of fun. All right. I'm seeing more votes towards other creators. So I think I like Jeffrey's idea. Oh. So okay, so you pointed out that they've updated their policy. That's for partners. So if you are a partner on Twitch, you can multi-stream. But if you're an affiliate, then you can't. And the difference is, the qualifications for being a partner is significantly higher. I think you have to average like 75 viewers for your entire stream on Twitch in order to qualify. And you have to stream a certain amount and all that stuff. Affiliate is a far easier level to meet. And you can start like collecting, I think you can start collecting like like subs, sub money, or like donations and stuff like that. But yeah, that is interesting. Just not simultaneously. It seems like an odd qualifier, and I don't know how they distinguish that. Okay. Whoa! Hey, thanks for the subscription. Appreciate it. So step 1, pick a date. Step 2, see who's available that date. True, Jeffrey. True. What we would probably do, so my plan is to, I'm hoping to begin consistently streaming every Friday. Hey, Nick. Love to see you here. You know, I'm always surprised about people from around the world who watch our videos. So I'm excited that you're here from India. What time is it in India right now? My goal is that I'm gonna try to stream every Friday, because I recently changed my work schedule where I don't have work on Fridays, which is great. It opens up some time to do other important things. But I think it would be nice to stream regularly. And so I would probably end up doing this on stream on a Friday. That would be the goal. Use one of those online calendar thingies. Yeah, Doodle or whatever. 1 a.m. Wow. Parth, are you in India too? Wow. I guess India spans... Does India span several time zones? It must, right? Nope, I guess not. Huh. That's wild. Germany? Okay, all right. Put in chat if you feel comfortable where you're from. You don't have to get that specific. Don't give me your address. But I'm just curious. Let's see the spread of where people are from. All right, it's clear to me from the polls and from Twitch chat as well that you want to see other creators. So that's where I will begin, and then if we don't have enough people, then I'll open it up to subscribers to be able to join. We're only looking for 3 or 4 people, so it's not a huge pool. So we'll see. Germany, Iraq, what? The Netherlands, oh my gosh. New York, Sweden, Oklahoma. No way, Vancouver. No way, Germany, California. That's awesome. Where am I from? I'm from Wisconsin originally. Now I'm in Chicago. So, not too far. Yeah, I'm from Milwaukee originally, which is a wonderful city. If you ever happen to go to the Midwest, usually people go to Chicago because it's just, usually they go to Chicago because they have a connecting flight there. I mean, Chicago is wonderful. It's a really cool city. But Milwaukee is only about an hour and a half away, and it's a really fun place to go. Czech Republic? What? It's so cool to see people from all over the world here. All right, well, here's the deal. This has been extremely helpful. I want to ask another question. We've now sort of settled, I'm going to end this poll. We've now settled that people would generally like to see other creators. The question now is, do you have specific creators or a creator subtype that you would like me to approach? I will say that people who I have the most connection with generally are people who are also in the sort of like educational YouTube realm, right? People who make smart videos. So I don't know like a lot of comedy YouTubers, right? People who do shorts and stuff like that. I could approach them, but I'm more likely to get zero response because I don't know them. So anyway, throw your suggestions in the chat if that's something that, if you have particular people in mind. I can actually help out with this too. Yeah, smart videos. Educational YouTube, edutubers, as we like to call ourselves. But I can approach anyone. People who I don't know are likely to not reply to me. DM away. So that's one question, one thing that I have to set up. I need to figure out an actual day to record it. And then I guess my other question that I want to throw out there is I would like as much feedback as you want to give about what you would want to see in a game that's going to be used in therapy. Oh. Hank probably is extremely busy and probably has zero time for me, but I can approach him. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, I don't think Neil deGrasse Tyson's gonna play with me. Maybe. I would highly doubt it. Dr. K? Yeah, I'm not familiar with him. Don't know him. I will learn more about him and then reach out to him. Any guide for clinical psychology as my career? So, I don't know what the situation looks like in India in terms of, like qualifications and stuff like that. What I guess I'll give more broad advice, which is, I would say, focus on learning the skills that you think will be relevant. If you're early on, if you haven't gotten into like a graduate program or something like that, then my advice would be to do some kind of work in the field, even if it's just like volunteering or kind of administrative work, but in like a clinic that does mental health work. That can be helpful and can improve your resume. But I don't know if I have like super firm advice. Yeah. Get some comfort person who handles their life. Oh, some comfortable person. Therapy videos. Maybe one day Brennan Lee Mulligan, super empathetic guy, has hosted LARPing campaigns, I imagine. Not larking. LARPing campaigns for kids. Is a D&D genius. I don't know if I want to DM a D&D genius. I think I would be a little bit intimidated. In the game, the characters must solve problems using therapeutic devices rather than weapons or magic. Ooh, that'd be kind of fun. What would that look like? So you would have to so you come up to a dragon or something, and instead of attacking it, you have to like try to be empathetic or something, or try to help it with some emotional problem. That would be kind of fun, not gonna lie. Oh, okay, you're going to postgrad in UK or Canada. That's probably a little bit more similar. Yeah, I mean, I would say look up their requirements ahead of time. If you're going for a PhD program, those are pretty competitive. And so I would get as much experience as you can to help your chances. If you're going for a master's program, those are easier to get into, but you also you don't get paid to go to school, so it would probably be expensive, because you're paying tuition. but the requirements tend to be less strict, I would say. They're still hard to get into, but yeah. You love that idea? I've actually thought about developing a D&D world heavily inspired by the worlds of Psychonauts and Inside Out, where you use mental magic predominantly. And then Persona 5 sort of does this too. I have to play Persona 5. I keep hearing about Persona 5. Psychonauts. Why have I heard that before? I don't know if I'm familiar with it enough though. But Inside Out. Yeah, Inside Out is cute. I think I'd want it to be fun, funny. Like what we're seeing here. Dragon, I hear you're expressing a lot of anger. Probably good to go with people already familiar with D&D, definitely. So you don't have to spend too much time going over the basics. Absolutely. I hate to call it D&D and then take away all the fun of weapons and magic that's available in D&D. I agree. I think, yeah, I don't think I would want to take away the weapons and magic and all that stuff either. And maybe you could add an element that, you know, maybe you could incorporate an element of kind of therapeutic language and stuff like that. So that it's just like an add-on rather than removing features of the game. I'll have to think about that more. The dragon is projecting its anger and frustration from social isolation and estrangement from family onto the communities around it. Or maybe it's developed borderline personality disorder because of childhood trauma. Definitely keep weapons. Okay. Good to know. Yeah. It might be worth taking some time offline to talk with a group of individuals. Might need that D&D brush up. Yeah. Anybody who's going to participate, we probably do a pre-session just to talk about certain things that are important. Like you get an advantage or inspiration if you use something you've learned in therapy. Yeah. Or maybe part of the pre-session, you know, the person who's playing has to identify something that they would like to work on, right? So, and that could be individualized. So if someone is working on being a better communicator, or someone's working on saying no more often, right? Then it's when they do that specific thing as part of the game where they get, like you're saying, Jeffrey, advantage or inspiration. I think that'd be cool. Oh, I don't know if Rowan plays, but we're buds, so I could ask him. If you're not familiar with Rowan Francis, he's Medlife Crisis is his YouTube channel. Awesome guy. Really, really fun guy. I don't know if he plays D&D, but he's also a doctor. He's busy, but he's also on UK time, so maybe it would work out. I don't know. I'm new. Sorry, what's the meaning of D&D? D&D stands for Dungeons and Dragons. It's a role-playing game. Oh, Tim already answered it. Never mind. Oh, and Lai also answered it. A Mind Flayer antagonist that knows individual fears and insecurities of the party and their pathologies and uses trademark narcissistic manipulation tactics, no-win scenarios, loving abusers, etc. Oh my god. That's hilarious. And very real. Yes, Ben, it's live. Psych. It's not live, it's recorded. No, I love that. I love that idea. Maybe a Mind Flayer Mind Flayer would be. You guys are all kind of getting behind the scenes right now. Hank Green is so busy, Gleam. I don't know if that's going to be possible. And he doesn't know me. He might know of me, but we are not friends. Not that I wouldn't want to be. We're not close. But I can reach out. You just found my channel. My voice is kind of comforting. That's great. I appreciate that. I hope I have developed a comforting therapy voice through all of my years of doing therapy. That's awesome. Also describes many DMs I've known. Oh no. Narcissistic and uses manipulation, no-win tactics, and they're loving abusers. That doesn't sound like a very healthy relationship with your DM. But I can see that. DMs are meant to cause pain, right? I don't know. Okay, you guys have given me some excellent ideas. We'll see if this works out. I don't want to make any promises. I really hope that it does because I love this idea. I think that'll be really fun. But you know, with holidays and everything, we'll kind of play it by ear. But I think it would be a really good time. Here's my thought. So I'm gonna wrap up for now, but I'll be back next Friday to stream some more, and maybe we can start fleshing this out. I'm hoping to have access to World Anvil by then. And when I have access, then we can actually start constructing this together, which I think would be a lot of fun to prep, and then I can get input from you guys about like what you would like to see. Like I love this Mind Flayer idea, I really do, and so just like using stuff like that to flesh out the world, I think would be awesome. So that's what we're gonna do. Hey man, love your videos. Waiting for the video on IQ. I know. Well, we just released the brain training app video, Ben. Patience. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. We will make a video on IQ at some point, probably. I mean, I don't know. IQ is one of those things that there have been a lot of videos made on it already, about why it's bad. So I think I would need to approach it from a sort of a unique perspective. But I have a lot to say on the topic. I have a lot of thoughts. So anyway, teenage DMs? What are you talking about? Oh, teenage dungeon masters. I was thinking of direct messages. Okay, cool. All right, thanks everybody. I'm caught up on chat. I really want to just say thanks for joining. I'm hoping to see you guys in future streams if you care to join. If you want to see streams outside of channel related streams, you can go over to my Twitch channel on Twitch. Imagine that. And you can follow me there. I'll put the link in the YouTube chat. There you go. If you want to check me out, follow me over there. I just play games or do random stuff every once in a while. It's not on a schedule or anything like that. But if you like that kind of thing, then you can always go over there. And if you're on Twitch, you get to use emotes in chat. Very true. Look at that emote. It's going wild. Going wild. But appreciate y'all. We'll talk more soon. Keep working on this idea. And yeah, thanks a lot. Bye.